and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to the Robert Sports Show. I'm your host, Robert. Alright, the road to WrestleMania. We have four videos here for the road to WrestleMania. This first one, I was doing some research, and this is the first WrestleMania since WrestleMania 6 that didn't have either The Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, or Triple H. Just think about that. It's been 30 years and we didn't have either Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, or Triple H in the match at WrestleMania. So that led me to a epiphany. We all call the Heartbreak Kid Shawn Michaels Mr. WrestleMania. Who is more Mr. WrestleMania than The Undertaker? The Undertaker's had 27 WrestleMania matches. Second is the Triple H. Taker's got 25 wins at WrestleMania. He's 25-2. Tripp has 23 WrestleMania shows. I think he's got like 10 wins maybe. So I decided to rank the Dead Man's matches. So this is a ranking of all 27 Undertaker matches, from the very best from the very worst. So we're going to start with number 27. Now, these are based on star rating and star rating alone. Now, if the star ratings were equal, it was based on what I thought of the match. I've watched all the Manias. I've seen them all multiple times. So, number 27, the very first Undertaker match at WrestleMania. WrestleMania 7. The Undertaker versus Jimmy Superfly Snuka. 4-minute and 20-second match. 3/4 of a star. It was trash. Taker won. Number 26 comes from WrestleMania 9. The Undertaker versus the biggest useless piece of monkey phlegm that Taker ever wrestled at Mania. Giant Gonzalez. The Undertaker beating Giant Gonzalez by disqualification. 7 minutes and 33 seconds. 3/4 of a star. Number 25 on the list comes from WrestleMania number 8. The Undertaker versus Jake the Snake Roberts. 6 minutes and 30 seconds. Also 3/4 of a star. Next we have WrestleMania 11. The Undertaker versus King Kong Bundy. 6 minutes and 33 seconds. 1.25 star. Next, WrestleMania 15. Hell in a Cell. Undertaker versus Big Boss Man. A less than 10-minute match. 1.75 star. Number 22 comes from WrestleMania 34. This was the shortest match that Undertaker ever had at WrestleMania. The one versus John Cena. 2 minutes and 45 seconds. I give it 1.75 star. Now, if you have seen the Undertaker Last Call documentary on the WWE Network, you'll know this match should have been longer. You'll know what Taker went through in some of the other matches, and this match he felt good for it. He wanted it to be longer, but that's just not what the time would allow, and that's not where it fit. So this match should have been so much longer and so much better. Number 21 comes from the famous WrestleMania 30. The Undertaker versus Brock Lesnar. I was there live. When the 1, 2, 3 happened, and they flashed up to 21-1 with Brock Lesnar beating The Undertaker in the Superdome in New Orleans, you could hear a pin drop. It was quiet. 25-minute match. Taker doesn't remember any of it. He said he's watched it in the documentary. He doesn't remember it at all. He couldn't even figure out where he got concussed. But he ended up going to the hospital afterwards with a severe concussion. It's just amazing to me, the match. It was 1.75 star, so it wasn't great by no means. But just knowing he was concussed during it, doesn't remember any of it, and he lost, and it was bad. But yeah, that's all we're going to say about that. Number 20 on the list, WrestleMania 11, 2-on-1 handicap match. The Undertaker versus A-Train and Big Show. Taker getting the victory, 1 3/4 star. 19 on the list, number 22, was a casket match versus The Undertaker and Mark Henry. The Undertaker obviously getting the victory, 1 3/4 star. Number 18 comes from WrestleMania 13, The Undertaker versus Psycho Sid, 21 minutes, 2 star. Number 17 comes from WrestleMania 14, The Undertaker versus Kane. His 1 of 2 matches versus Kane, 2 star. Number 16, WrestleMania 20, also versus Kane, and also 2 star. Number 15 on the list comes from Takeover. WrestleMania 12, The Undertaker versus Big Daddy Cool Diesel. Taker beating Diesel, I give it 2.5. Number 14 comes from WrestleMania 32, Hell in a Cell. The Undertaker versus Shane McMahon. 30 minutes. One of his, I think his third longest of the matches at WrestleMania. I give it 2 3/4. We all know what happened there with Taker beating Shane. Number 13 on the list comes from Takeover 31, Undertaker versus Bray Wyatt. Taker winning 2 3/4 star. Now, there might be some of you that are surprised. Number 12 on the list, Takeover 33, No Holds Barred. Undertaker versus Roman Reigns. 23 minutes, 2 3/4 star. As we know, at the end of this, Taker took off his hat, his coat, and the boots, put him in the middle of the ring, walks up the ramp, does the whole salute, and goes away. We all thought, Taker's done. As that documentary Last Call talks about this match, it talks about Taker, how much pain he was in with his hip, how he apologized to Roman Reigns for not being the Undertaker during this match, and how he was like, I wasn't myself. I screwed Roman Reigns out of a good match. It was heartbreaking to listen to, and he even said then, this should have been the match that broke the streak. They should never broke it with Lesnar. This should have been the match that broke it. For him to say it should have been Roman Reigns, I'm like, wow, it's crazy. But yeah, I give it 2 3/4 star. Number 11 on here comes from WrestleMania 18, The Undertaker versus Ric Flair. Undertaker winning in 3 stars. The 1 of 3 matches comes in at number 17 versus Triple H. This one is WrestleMania 17, Undertaker versus Triple H, one of the greatest overall cards. We know we had TLC, we know we had Taker Shawn, Rock, Stone Cold, but the undercard stuff wasn't good. Taker winning, I give it 3.5. Number 9 on the list comes from Takeover. I keep saying Takeover. It's a Takeover video before. WrestleMania 21, Undertaker versus Randy Orton. Taker getting the victory there. We had said as fans that this should have been the one where the streak was broken for Randy to build Randy up. Obviously, we know now Randy didn't really need it, but Taker beating him there in 3.5 star. Number 8 on here comes from WrestleMania 36. Watching this documentary and kind of getting behind the scenes from Takeover 33 on, after the match with Roman Reigns, we all know Undertaker was looking for that match, that one match that, hey, I'm still the Undertaker, I can walk away. He had the match with Cena, he had the stuff in Saudi Arabia with Goldberg. Just wasn't good. He got in the best shape of his life. He was still chasing that one match. Him and AJ Styles had a common friend, and the friend was like, "Hey, what about AJ?" And AJ was talking to the friend, and the friend's like, "What do you think, Taker? You think Taker to WrestleMania?" He's like, "Oh, I don't know." So he calls him up and says, "Look, man, I want to be that match for you." He's like, "I'll think about it." So Taker talked to his wife, talked to Michelle McCool. Like Michelle said, we know AJ, we know the family, we know his wife and his kids. You can trust him. He is that guy As Taker said in this documentary, he's like a Shawn Michaels. He's somebody that you can have chemistry with, that can help you, that can make this match work. So Taker thought about it. Taker decided, yes, I want a match versus AJ Styles. They went to Tripp, said, look. I went to Vince and said, look, we want to do this. Triple H helped with it. It's going to be a boneyard match. What the hell's a boneyard match? I'll figure it out. So they had what we had at night 1 of WrestleMania 36. We had a boneyard match. The Undertaker versus AJ Styles. 24-minute match. Obviously, Taker went over 3.5 star. We've seen the match. We've seen the gloriness of it. The kind of the send-off. It was Mark Calloway, Undertaker, badass Undertaker, all wrapped in one. AJ on the promos for it was just incredible. Coming out and saying, you're not the Undertaker anymore, you're Mark Calloway. And with Taker doing all this stuff on the network, on the last call, on the Broken Skull Ranch, getting away from kayfabe with the Undertaker character and becoming Mark Calloway and putting all this out there, it's like an amazing story. And then just knowing that it's a huge AJ Styles fan, having Taker say, you know what, he's as good as Shawn Michaels, and Shawn Michaels is probably the greatest wrestler ever. So, even though AJ didn't win, AJ won. He got to wrestle Undertaker. Maybe Undertaker's last match. Next up, number 7 on the list comes from WrestleMania 23, World Heavyweight Title match versus Batista. The Undertaker versus Dave. Undertaker getting the victory there. 4-star match. Number 6 on the list comes from WrestleMania 24, World Title versus the rated champion, the Rated R Superstar Edge. It came out in 2020 when Beth Phoenix in an interview. The initial idea for this, and Edge backed this up, the initial idea for this match was Edge to beat Taker. Edge was supposed to win Money in the Bank, come into this match, undefeated at WrestleMania, streak versus streak for the title. And Edge was supposed to go over. Edge said, no, I'm not beating Taker at Mania. I mean, looking at Edge now, obviously happened to retire for neck injury, 8 years off, coming back, going into the main event at WrestleMania is just unbelievable how here he was supposed to beat Taker, and he said no. Taker ended up getting the victory there. I ended up giving it 4.25. Number 5 on my list, Takeover, WrestleMania 29, The Undertaker versus CM Punk. This match to me was phenomenal. It's 4.5 star, 22-minute match. Punk just tells a hell of a story with Taker. Punk basically did the entire build-up without Taker being on TV. Punk did everything himself. And then the match was just great, 4.5 star. Now, the next 4 matches, Taker's 4 best matches at Mania, 2 common opponents, Triple H and Shawn Michaels. Number 4, the longest match Taker had at WrestleMania, 30 minutes and 56 seconds, WrestleMania 28, Hell in a Cell, special referee, the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels, The Undertaker versus Triple H. 4.5 star. The fact that they knew it was kind of the end of an era. They knew they needed to go out and tear the house down, and they did it. It all worked with Shawn being in there. And just the story of 2 years before this, Triple H's best friend, Shawn Michaels, losing his career to Undertaker. Now Tripp is trying to go out and get, revenge on Taker for taking Shawn's career. And then Shawn being the referee, so he's trying to count Taker, for Tripp. And when Taker went to pin Tripp, he's got to count his best friend down, and he did. They all embrace. They walk out together. 4.5 star classic. Number 3 comes from WrestleMania 27, the No Holds Barred match, The Undertaker versus Triple H. Obviously, Taker getting the victory there. Just the story these two guys can tell in the ring. 4.5 star. That leaves one person left for match number 1 and number 2, the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels. The very best match in Undertaker WrestleMania history has got to be WrestleMania 25. That puts the second best WrestleMania 26. 26, streak versus career. Shawn put his career on the line versus The Undertaker. I think one was better. So at WrestleMania 25, Undertaker versus Shawn, 30 minutes and 44 seconds of just amazing wrestling, amazing storytelling. The fact that Taker did the dive out on the outside almost paralyzed himself. He almost broke his neck. He landed on Slim Snuka weirdly. I was there live. The arena thought Taker was hurt. It's like, whoa, there's no way. But you watch it, he ducked under, somehow he twisted his neck and kind of landed on his back of his shoulders, not his neck. But just the story they told, just when Taker goes, no one kicked out of it, Shawn kicked out. It's like, holy hell. You believe that Shawn could have done it. Taker winning it. 26 was a carbon copy of that match, for the most part. It was about 6 minutes shorter. So they didn't copy it exactly, but they did a lot of the same stuff. It's like, I've seen this already. When you see the first one, 25, yeah, that was some good stuff. But yeah, Shawn and Taker tearing the house down. Both matches 4 3/4. Triple matches both 4 1/2. So that is a ranking of the Undertaker's WrestleMania matches, 25-2. He took the career of Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania, who took the career of Ric Flair at WrestleMania, and the phenomenal AJ Styles got to wrestle The Undertaker at WrestleMania. If you haven't checked out the documentary Last Call Undertaker on WWE Network on Peacock, go check it out. It is worth it. I think it was 6 episodes. Just some of the best storytelling and just getting behind the scenes, seeing what Taker went through during some of these matches in that time frame. It's amazing. But as always, thanks for watching the Robert Sports Show. Make sure you check out the full road to WrestleMania, full road to NXT TakeOver, Stand and Deliver. As always, thanks for watching the Robert Sports Show. Don't just have a great day. Have a spiffy day. Robert Sports Show, your YouTube leader in sports channel content.